The kids were in here yesterday, and a lot of them talked about miscommunication, some drop passes, not executing. Looking back at the offensive game film, was there anything in scheme that you thought might need to be tweaked or changed?
Oh, sure. And also, as coaches, we take responsibility. If your player doesn't execute the way you want him to, that starts with the coach first. Like, the kids just watch the tape, they evaluate themselves, they go out there and perform to the best of their ability. But for us, it's about having better practice. And there's a saying that I've heard a long time from some of the guys that I work for, and it's practice execution equals game day reality. And we practiced better this week than we did last week. So I think it's us coaching better to help our players execute better. I think that's where it starts.
Hey, Dowell, what was your overall assessment of Lenoris's performance on Saturday? And, there were times where maybe, he was taking a run instead of, staying back in the pocket and making a throw. Is that kind of how you felt about some of the plays he had?
I think that, number one, you're judged as a starting quarterback with your win-loss record. So he's 1-0, so mission accomplished there. In the process of playing that game, I think that he looked like a guy that was getting his first start and played for 15 plays. Up until that point, he was really excited about the opportunity. He knows that the burden of that job, what it entails, but you really don't feel it until you have to go do it for the first time. And that was the first time he ever went out there to start. It was the first time that he felt that pressure of what it's like to play in front of 80,000 and having a lot of people depending on you and counting on you. It's why in the NFL they get 3 preseason games, and so those guys have a chance to go do that. So he had an opportunity to do it. The best way to get used to that is experience. There's no value on experience, and it was a different feel than when he got to watch Spencer to go do it for like the 30th time and the first time he ever got to do it. So he'll grow from it. Definitely, I thought the game was fast for him, and I think you saw that with his technique and pulling down some too quick to run at times, not trusting his feet and trusting his training. But it's an awesome opportunity to grow, and he'll get better every week.
A few players yesterday were talking about red zone struggles. In your mind, did you notice anything specific once you guys got inside the 20, and how do you go about fixing that in 1 week?
Yeah, last year we were, I think, number 1 in the SEC in red area offense. I think our run game got a little leaky at times down there. I could have been more aggressive down there as well. And, you got a young quarterback in the red area, and hey, just don't put them in a bad spot until they're mature enough to handle those things. And so for the whole thing, it was a combination of a bunch of things. But the most important thing in the red area is go first down, second down, first down. When you get in these third and 8 on the 12, 3rd and 8 on the 23, you're going to settle for field goals right there. And obviously Alex came in and bailed us out on some of these field goals. But all of a sudden you score in the red area, and the feel of the game's a little bit different as well.
You mentioned wanting to be a little more aggressive in the red area. Were there some other areas or specific points throughout the game that you look back on where you feel like you should have done different, could have done different, anything like that?
Oh, everything goes back to the week. You look at why your players don't execute a scheme, or what did you say to them? Did you show them enough looks? Did they get enough reps of those things? Like, you self-scout everything, and when you don't play the way that you want to play, you don't execute the way you want to execute. It goes back to, as a coach, you have to look at yourself first, and you would say, hey, if it's the old saying of the teachers, like, hey, student fails, teacher fails. So we look at everything, and I go back and look at all that stuff to make sure, like, hey, did we give Lenoris the right looks? Did we give him the hardest stuff at practice so when it shows up at games he's prepared for? We look at everything that way.
Shane was pretty happy after the game, and then again on Tuesday, or at least content with the offensive line's performance, and said perimeter blocking was an issue. Did you see it the exact same way, and how do you go about addressing that this week?
Yeah, I think the vision of what Coach wants is, he goes back to his dad and is playing good defense, run the football, play good special teams. For the first week, I thought we were better than we were this time last year for the first week. We're obviously going to play a really, really good opponent this week. Then we're going to have to be better than we were last week. So it was a good start to running the football, and there were things that we were pleased with. There's also a lot to work on. Like, overall, the group played really hard. They played with great effort. But there's still things. We had too many sacks and JV sacks on some things that we just bust, and we got to look at ourselves as coaches, like, hey, how do we get this cleaned up? But they did what they needed to do to win that game. That type of execution won't win this one. So there's a race for maturity for this group to get better every day and every week. And so it was a good start for us in the run game, but we're going to have to be a lot better.
Shane was pretty pleased with the 35, 36 minutes of possession that you guys had, but is that something we can expect for the next couple of weeks? I mean, do you want to be the team that just dominates the possession game, runs the ball, and wins that every week?
Well, I don't think there's correlation in offensive success in time of possession. I don't. Defensive coaches will tell you the exact opposite because they want their players fresh in the fourth quarter and rushing the passer. And if you can play low-scoring games and keep a fresh defense, that there is a plan to win that way. I don't personally believe that time of possession is important for an offense. I think explosive plays and turnovers are really the two things that matter, and score touchdowns in the red area. I would say that if I was critiquing us as an offense, we weren't explosive enough in the passing game. Like we had 7 explosives total. 5 of those were in the running game and only 2 in the passing game. So for us to continue to get better, that's where our improvement is going to have to go from week 1 to week 2, week 2 to 3, is we have to be more explosive in the passing game because that's how you score points. Now, the complementary football aspect of that thing is real. With time of possession, your defense is going to be fresh. They're going to be able to rush the passer in one-score games. Better if they were out there for 35 minutes.
Yesterday, Beamer talked about just the team, especially the offense, gelling, chemistry, things like that. You just said a race to maturity.
Yeah.
Like, how does that happen so fast? From your perspective, how do you gel? How do you create chemistry at a rapid pace?
Yeah, I mean, you coach your tail off. You look at Kentucky's defense, 8 or 9 starters back. The health of their program is really good because they have all these guys returning, and they've played together for a long time. I think they have 1 transfer starting. The kid from Georgia, linebacker number 2, is a really good player, started at Georgia. The only way you get through that is you take some lumps in playing young kids and young players, and that's the only way to do it is you practice the right way, and they have to go do it. They have to go play games. Like the football is so different, but then baseball and basketball, because we work all this time for 12 opportunities. They play 80 games on 162 games. They play games to get better. We practice to get better. So we have to become a great practice team. And I don't think we did that last week. And offensively, I can speak, we weren't good enough. This week we've been better the last 2 days, and we need to finish the week. But that's how we're going to do it is we're going to have to practice. We're going to have to play. Like there's no shortcuts. The secret's in the dirt, and it's hard work.
Lenores was telling us yesterday how when he watched the tape that he thought he looked timid, scared, however he phrased it. Was that something that he said to you like immediately, or was that something y'all kind of came to a conclusion together? How did that sort of come about?
I don't think he looked scared and timid. I wouldn't use those words. I would look young, excited, eager, sped up. I think that's what it looks like when a quarterback is sped up and they're excited about the opportunity. It was a big moment for him. Like it's not easy to go as a redshirt freshman and start in the SEC. That doesn't happen very often. So for him, I wouldn't use those words. I would say that there's an opportunity to get better this week. I think that his timing was sped up too fast because of his youth and age. And he's got, he approached everything the right way. I know that Spencer, he and Spencer talked this week. It's the first thing Spencer said to me after the game was, no, look fast. And, was getting through things too quickly and, those things. So you don't say that I felt it through the week with the prep, and I felt how excited he was to get out there and do that. And I think he's going to be much better after he got to go do it. And I have a lot of faith in the kid. He's going to be a really good player, and he's got to go through these experiences. And what a blessing to be able to do that.
Dowell, I'm sure you had an overall game plan for the entire game. Did you have to change it at all as the game progressed to say, this isn't working like I thought it was, and now we have to go do this?
Yeah, that's the advantage of having a great staff is like when things are happening, you got a lot of experience, Shula, Sean Elliott, Blackwell, Lonnie, like there's constant communication of like, hey, let's get to this. Like, hey, these guys, we're seeing this well. Let's handle this. Let's do this. So the communication in between series is like you go in, game plans are great until the first bullet's fired, and then all of a sudden it's like, all right, let's settle these kids down because we're really young, and hey, we're doing this well. Let's lean on this more. And so it was more of communication with the staff going. I was really pleased with that aspect of it because they offer a lot of value because we have a lot of experience and guys have seen things. So definitely you shift and you adjust a little bit. The understanding and also how the game was flowing, like how it was going to go down. Like there was never a panic, and I think that happens when you've got an older, more mature staff. That it's like, hey, we need to finish this thing out. We need to put a drive together. We were able to play complementary football when the defense got the turnovers. We were able to punch in the end zone, which helped, and the defense did a great job getting those things. But so we did adjust in some areas for sure. Adjusted some of the runs out as the game went. And, adjustments become a little bit more difficult when you have youth and you got younger players. That last year you could draw something up in the dirt and it's like, hey, we're good. Spence Leggett they've played a lot of football. Those things. This year it's a little bit different because you got a bunch of guys playing together and we're not gelled and we're not at that point yet. So it's a process.
Last question, Al.
You talked a lot after games last year about 4-minute offense, about finishing the game when you get the ball back late. What was your assessment of that last possession in the fourth quarter where you had to punt it back and what needs to be different there?
I'm trying to go back in our head. So we had to run on first down. We had the zone read on second down, right, with Lenoris. And then the third down, at that point, we were trying to call our best run. You're talking about the series before we got to kneel it out. Okay. I'd love to finish that drive with us in control with the ball. You get in these calculated risks, and there's two types of 4-minute in my mind. There's really three. But when you look at it and you're like, all right, do we run 3 runs, punt it back to them, or do we call a run, see what happens, versus call your best 3 plays to get a first down? Also, the way we felt about the defense and how they were playing, it was like, hey, let's run the ball, 3 times. Like the passing game wasn't where it needed to be. So at that moment, we'd run the ball better and we threw the ball. So let's do what we do that got us to this point to have the lead. Now, you're not going to be able to play every game that way. There's sometimes when you have to say, hey, call your 3 best plays, and 2 of the 3 might be passes. It might be 3 passes in a row. No, I wasn't happy with that. We need to finish that drive with the ball and earn, 3 runs and get a first down or 2 runs and throw a pass there. But so we still have an opportunity. To finish that game with the ball in our hands, and that's really the goal in that situation.